land, domestic air, and domestic sea travel to and from Metro Manila shall be suspended beginning 15/2020.
Remember to take a breath and take care of yourself. It's convenient to remind others to take proper care of themselves. However, ironically, it's difficult to accomplish when it comes to ourselves. If anyone needed it, we owe ourselves the rest that we deserve as well. Everyone is trying at this time, but it is not necessary to pressure ourselves to the point that our body is not capable of doing so. A time for ourselves and rest would have been enough reward to our continuous fighting over this conflict. Direct your attention. Individuals must direct their attention to the things that will develop and make more progress on their own, things that will enhance their talents and capabilities. They have to divert their attention to the activities that worth their time and, in the other hand, beneficiary. By doing so, it would only allow individuals to eliminate the focus and emotion of the draining circumstances that they face, which was the global pandemic.
Julius Evangelista used to earn around $300 a month as a jeepney driver. That was barely enough to feed his family, but he says somehow they were able to get by. But life became much worse 2 months ago when the lockdown was imposed by the government to stop the spread of coronavirus. He is unable to work and pay for the house rent in Manila. So they live like this now, in a jeepney, begging in the street just to feed his family.
We are living in a challenging and uncertain times. The novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic impacts all so much more profoundly than the others. For a number of families, this could involve making significant changes of the daily routine due to the variety factors that provokes it. The COVID-19 pandemic pressured families to fight to maintain a work-family balance with hardly any resources and support. With all the school and foster care institutions being closed, parents are entirely responsible for childcare and otherwise schooling. However, most parents still conduct their paid employment from their home, whereas others have dampened financial difficulties upon losing their jobs, whilst others engaged in healthcare would further live away from their families to minimize their vulnerability to the virus. Whatever the circumstances, work-family balance has become increasingly challenging. Families who have been living in abject poverty even before pandemic could now be suffering much more, either because of the additional expense of maintaining the entire family at home all day and every day, but also because of the income shock triggered by the removal of the paying jobs. There would also be families who are being forced towards poverty as a result of the pandemic, perhaps for the first time, who could face new challenges who they wouldn't have had to endure before. For several families, this might perhaps mean intensified anxiety within the family members, stress in parental relationships, or general distrust. Obtaining a new normal can be overwhelming, as well as schools and community institutions are shut down at the end of this period is still unpredictable. Shutting schools and depending on homeschooling is necessary to expand the inequalities of opportunities. Lengthy vacations are recognized to be extremely detrimental to the school performance of students with unprivileged backgrounds.
COVID-19 pandemic has created immediate and unprecedented challenges in education. Excellence and equity, cornerstones of good education systems, are being challenged in every part of the world. Our greatest concern is that differences in parental involvement and access to technology will exacerbate inequality. At the same time, as in every major challenge, this is an opportunity to adapt. And as important as continuing quality education is, it is just as important to maintain mental and physical well-being for students and parents.
Both public and private have also had to adjust to the new situations where face-to-face interactions and mass gatherings are prohibited. Committed to their mandate, the leading universities and colleges in the Philippines, particularly those affiliated with the ASEAN Universities Network such as University of the Philippines, Ateneo de Manila, Dela University, found innovative ways to fulfill their three-pronged task of education, research, and service. Everyone from operations and support service units to administrators and teachers had adjusted to work from home arrangements. From the confines of their homes, teachers and administrators were put to the task of revising and adapting course syllabi and requirements as they shift to alternative and remote teaching modalities, both asynchronous and synchronous, where students and teachers had to access electronic devices and reliable internet connections. Learning management systems such as Canvas, Module, Blackboard, and applications like Google Hangouts, Zoom, and Skype. But where students had limited access to computers and reliable access to the internet connections.
So, let us go now to religion. According to Council of Europe, Manual for Human Rights Education with Young People, stated that religion is a set of cultural system and worldviews that connect faith and often moral principles to the humanity. There are narratives, symbols, rituals, and sacred records of many religions, which are meant to give life meaning or to justify the nature of life or the universe. In different types of religion, they also have different ways of uniting our church community. Just like if you are a Muslim, you go to a mosque, or if you are Catholic, then go to a typical church that can be seen everywhere in the Philippines. But since the onset of the pandemic, the worshippers have been restricted to go or attend any mass or gatherings in their place of worship to lessen the numbers of infected. Because according to the report of New York Times, Shichonji Church of Jesus in Korea, after a 61-year-old and Shichonji congregant known as patient number 31, is believed to have infected many worshippers during the service. But the church have different ways to cope up. So faith leaders came up with innovative, creative option to minimize the need for in-person meetings, encouraging their group to respond to the new normal. First is they conduct the online services like praying, talking, or catching up with other believers through apps like Zoom and Google Meet. Second is they let their people stream live videos of suitably modified rituals, sermons, and prayers.
The Philippine General Hospital, unusually empty. The country's biggest public health institution treats more than 600,000 patients every year. Now, entire wards have been cleared after the government designated it the country's main coronavirus hospital.
Let us go now to health institution. So it offers inpatient or outpatient primary care facilities and support services, such as medical or rehabilitation services, laboratory services, prescription, and other health services. Since COVID-19 pandemic happened, many persons who seek medications such as cancer, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes have not obtained the health care and medication they require. This is one of the biggest battles in the history of health system because health workers is not just focused on COVID-19 but also on different types of patients with health problems. Frontliners are one of the numbers killed or infected by the virus. The numbers are increasing and the workers in the field is decreasing. That is one of the problems in the field of medicine during the pandemic. According to World Health Organization, there are already 1.1 million deaths around the world. Imagine how many frontliners are in there. All of the people in the world are struggling and adjusting to the new normal. And DOH told the Filipinos to take care of their mental health and seek help to those people around them. Since the fight is not just physically, but it also triggers emotional and psychological aspect of a person.
The purpose of economy is to deal with the family to deliver and circulate food, water, and different goods and products, fundamentally for safeguarding the human life. So, economy need a capable and liberal chief or president to take care for the family, gathering state, or the total populace in the event that we talk about world economy. The Philippines witnessed a slower economic growth in the half of 2019, contrasted with 2018. The nation saw a supported financial development of 6.3%, somewhere in the range of 2010 and 2018, while the development is back down to 5.5% in H2 2019. The World Bank gauges Philippines to observe entire year 2019 financial development of 5.8%. Philippines, the administration shut the air travels from Luzon on March 20, 2020 as a feature of Enhanced Community Quarantine, also known ECQ, that began in the island on March 16. The travel industry area has just felt the negative effect of the pandemic on its presentation a lot of prior. In the different nations, travel limitations and measures have begun as right on time as January of this current year, and have affected the Philippine global vacationary appearance, homegrown sightseers, then again, likewise, restricted their movement inspired by a paranoid fear of contracting COVID-19. The Department of Tourism revealed that global traveler receipts in the primary quarter of the year declined on to 8.5 billion, lower than the incomes in the similar period year ago.
The economy is like an air we use to inhale for our survival. If it's not enough, the comfortable feeling is far from us. And if it's enough and fresh, our life is like a heaven without a problem. Therefore, I realize the purpose of economy of our nation. Even if or even the pandemic is there or not, we need our economy to increase and evolve. Be mature on living. We can't afford to just bark and complain. We need to help and proceed in order to progress. So to my fellow Filipino, we are the solution.